Hey brother, let's get real about something most guys don't even notice. They've been conditioned to believe that logic, good looks, or clever lines are the keys to unlocking intimacy. But the truth is, none of that really flips the primal switch in her mind. It's not charm, it's not a six-pack, it's something way deeper: emotional flooding. Emotional flooding is that overwhelming wave of presence, tension, and raw, unfiltered connection that drowns out her overthinking mind and completely short-circuits her emotional defenses. This isn't some sneaky manipulation tactic, it's the unspoken language of genuine connection, something most men don't even understand. If you don't, you'll keep playing checkers in a game that's really chess. While you're busy rehearsing lines and trying to impress, another man is quietly mastering his energy. And energy, especially emotional intensity, is what pulls her in faster and deeper than anything else ever could. Emotional flooding isn't about crying on her shoulder or dumping your trauma on her. No, it goes far beyond that. It's the art of presence so sharp and focused, it slices right through her distractions and defenses. It's eye contact that lingers just a moment too long, holding her gaze and making her feel seen. It's silence loaded with meaning, where the space between words speaks louder than any sentence could. It's the kind of words that land on a hidden nerve, a part of her she didn't even realize was exposed, making her feel raw and alive at the same time. It's the deep, unshakable feeling that you see her, not just her body, but her patterns, her wounds, her contradictions, and instead of flinching, you stay steady. Most men operate on the surface, scrambling to say the right thing or play the perfect role. But the man who knows emotional flooding, he walks into the room with a calm so deep, so grounded, it unsettles her in the best way. He leans in slightly, speaks slowly, with intention, and sees right through her masks and defenses. That's when the real magic happens. Her walls begin to slip, her carefully crafted armor starts to dissolve, and in that vulnerable moment, she starts craving the man who can hold her chaos without losing his center, who can meet her emotional storm without being swept away. Quick break. Close your eyes for a second. Picture her, the girl you've always wanted. Feel what it would be like to actually have her. Now open your eyes, because here's the truth. Right now, you're invisible to her. You're getting outcompeted by guys with more money, better looks, higher status, and stronger game. You're playing a rigged game, and you're losing. But I've spent the last 35 years mastering this, studying, testing, and finally finding the secrets to get the girls I always wanted. You want to stop getting ignored? You want her chasing you? Then you need to wake up and act. Click the link in the comments if you are truly committed and take the first step toward becoming that guy. Few spots left. Be fast or miss out your last chance to make her yours. Let's get back to it. To truly get this, you have to understand how feminine energy moves. It's chaotic, intuitive, deeply emotional, and reactive by nature. The moment she feels emotionally overwhelmed, not by drama, but by raw, undeniable intensity, her guard starts to crumble. She stops over-analyzing and begins to feel. That's the power of emotional flooding. It bypasses her logic, hits her nervous system, and pulls her out of her head. She's not sitting there calculating your income or future compatibility. Instead, she's caught up in the sensation, wondering why her heart races, why her breath shortens, why she's leaning in even though you haven't touched her. And that, my friend, is exactly the point. When her mind goes offline, her body comes alive. Most guys make the mistake of trying to be emotionally safe, without any edge. They show up as caretakers, not challengers. They try to please, impress, and comfort. But emotional flooding demands polarity. It demands intensity. You have to be both the storm and the shelter, the one who can ignite something wild inside her while grounding her at the same time. This tension, the push and pull, the fire and calm, that's what flips her into surrender. She doesn't just want to feel loved, she wants to feel taken, not in a forceful way, but energetically, taken deeper into herself, pulled out of her overthinking, captivated by your gaze, your tone, your raw truth. And when you get this right, sex isn't even a question, it becomes inevitable. This is why the man who masters emotional flooding can skip months of build-up. He can make her feel more in one night than most guys do in 6 months. Because it's never about time, it's about intensity. A single present, grounded conversation can carry more emotional weight than 100 dates combined. When you stop playing it safe, when you begin speaking with calm, slow, and piercing energy, she starts to melt. Her walls don't shatter, they dissolve, because those walls weren't built to withstand your masculine intensity, but to protect her from weak men. But you're not weak. You are both the calm within the storm and the storm itself. Let me be real. It's dangerous if you don't respect this power. Emotional flooding, when wielded by a man without integrity, becomes manipulation, turning connection into control and leaving women broken, confused, and addicted to a version of you that never truly existed. That's not why we're here. We're here to master presence, not play puppet master. You want her to open up because you are real, not because you're rehearsed. The deeper your emotional stillness, the more naturally this flooding happens. It's not about saying the perfect things, it's about being the perfect storm, raw, calm, and unshakably masculine. Women aren't seduced by logic, they're seduced by emotion. The fastest way to trigger those emotions is through energetic dominance, not physical or financial, but emotional. When she feels you lean in with zero need, when your voice doesn't rise or fall to please her, when your gaze doesn't waver under pressure, she senses it. It shakes something inside her. She's used to men reacting, you don't. She's used to seeking validation. You don't give it unless it's earned. That resistance, that controlled withholding, that's emotional flooding in its darkest, most addictive form. She wants more, even though you've given so little, because what you gave wasn't words. It was presence. This is why mysterious men always win, because mystery is just emotional uncertainty, and uncertainty is the gateway to emotional flooding. She can't read you, she doesn't know where she stands, and she doesn't understand why she's still thinking about you hours after a 10-minute conversation, and that confusion turns into fascination. Most guys try to over-explain. You don't. Most guys try to win her over, you let her lean in, and when she does, you hold her. Not with neediness, but with your energy. That subtle dynamic flips everything. She starts chasing the feeling, not the facts, and the more she chases, the closer she gets to surrender. But here's the real secret weapon, emotional pacing. You don't overwhelm her all at once. Instead, you build it slowly and deliberately. You raise the tension like a tide creeping in, letting her feel the weight of your silence before dropping a truth that shakes her to her core. You ask questions that pierce her childhood wounds. You share stories that resonate with her hidden longings, and every moment of this is wrapped in stillness, authentic stillness, not some staged performance. You become the eye of the storm, the calm center amidst the chaos. When she senses that she can feel everything swirling around you, rage, lust, fear, hope, without you ever flinching or breaking, she starts to associate you with safety on a level she's never experienced before. That's when sex transcends the physical and becomes something spiritual, something profound. She doesn't just want your body, she wants to be taken by your energy, swept away by the force of your presence. So yes, brother, emotional flooding is the fastest way to get laid, but only if you've earned the right to wield it. It's not some trick or cheap tactic. It requires deep internal work, the kind that keeps you grounded when she tests you, when she resists, when she hurls her emotional chaos at you like a relentless storm. Because if you flinch, the connection shatters. If you chase, the intensity dies. But if you stay present, unshaken, steady, dominant without pressure or force, she will fold. Not because she's weak, but because she's profoundly feminine. The feminine, when met with deep masculine certainty, doesn't submit out of obligation. It surrenders out of pure craving. Craving the peace and safety she cannot find in her own swirling mind. She'll never openly admit this, but deep down she knows it instinctively. She doesn't want to lead. She doesn't want to control. She doesn't want the exhausting role of managing the emotional temperature of every interaction. Instead, she wants to let go, to fall back, and to dissolve into a space where she's fully held by the strength of your unwavering presence. She wants to fall back, to let go, to dissolve completely, and the only man capable of granting her that kind of freedom is the one who knows how to emotionally flood her with unwavering certainty. Not by overpowering her, dominating her, or forcing her into submission, but by being so self-contained, so grounded in himself that she can finally collapse into something solid and unshakable. You don't chase her. Instead, you create such an undeniable magnetic pull that she has no choice but to surrender, not just physically, but on a much deeper, almost sacred level. She surrenders her goddess, her innermost self, because your presence invites that kind of trust and release. This isn't about faking depth or tossing around rehearsed poetic lines or quoting psychology books to impress. You earn the ability to emotionally flood a woman by going to war with your own inner demons first, by sitting with your discomfort, confronting your shadows, and taming your own chaos. Because only a man who has mastered his own emotional landscape can influence hers without being dragged under. If her tears cause you to panic, if her silence triggers insecurity, if her emotional tests unravel your composure, then you're simply not ready. Emotional flooding only works when your masculine container is strong enough to hold all of her complexity without flinching or breaking. That's when she feels safe enough to undress her soul in front of you. You don't seduce her with words or charming lines. You seduce her with your depth, your presence, your unwavering steadiness. You become the kind of man who looks at her with an intensity that silently says, "I see you, all of you, and I still stand here." You don't need her validation to feel worthy, nor do you rush through the silence to fill it. Instead, you hold space for her to feel her own feelings fully in your presence until she realizes you're not going anywhere, that you're not running from her truth. That alone is a rare quality. Most men want to fix her, to solve her problems or rescue her from her emotions. You don't. You hold her. You let the moment stretch out, unhurried and unforced, and in that sacred space, something almost magical happens. She starts opening up without even realizing why. Her lips part slightly, her body leans in subtly, her voice softens. She is already being taken by your calm presence. A woman may give her body to many, but giving her soul, that's a rarity reserved for the man who can hold her emotionally flooded self without breaking. Emotional flooding is the true gateway to soul-level intimacy. When done right, you're not just having sex, you're entering her world, her reality. She lets you into parts of herself she never shows anyone else, the hidden corners of her heart and mind. That's why the men who truly understand this don't need to rush or rely on gimmicks. They don't game the system, they are the system. They become the standard by which she measures all others. She remembers them for years, not because they were loud, flashy, or alpha, but because they created a space where she could feel everything deeply and fully without needing to explain or justify a single thing. And my brother, that feeling is a high only she can truly describe. But here's the real kicker. The more grounded, centered, and whole you become, the less you need to consciously flood her emotionally. Because you'll start attracting women who are already emotionally open, women who are ready and willing to meet you on that level. With them, you won't have to force the energy. The flood happens naturally, effortlessly, like a current pulling you both under. You won't even notice it at first, until she's leaning in closer, whispering things she swore she'd never say on a first date, asking questions that come from a place of deeper longing and vulnerability. You'll feel her magnetized to you, not by your cologne or your looks, but by your energy. This is the game behind the game, the hidden code that most men miss. You don't win it by being the most attractive. You win it by being the most centered, the most present. Your voice lowers, your movements slow down, your decisions become sharper and more deliberate. You speak less and listen more, and suddenly she's doing the work. Revealing, confessing, flirting, surrendering. Because the more she leans into your steady presence and feels held by it, the more her feminine body wants to respond. Her mind quiets, her need to perform fades away, and all that's left is this magnetic pull, this craving to be in your energy as much as possible. Never underestimate the power of stillness. True, grounded, unwavering stillness in a world overflowing with noise, distractions, and superficial connections. The man who cultivates this presence becomes a living mirror for her soul. And when she looks into that mirror, she doesn't just see a reflection of herself, she sees herself clearly, honestly, stripped of all pretense. That kind of clarity both unsettles and excites her. It stirs something deep within because most people in her life have tried to change her, fix her, or impress her with empty words and flashy gestures. But you don't try to fix or impress, you simply are. You hold your space with such calm certainty that it gives her permission to drop her defenses and be fully herself. The deeper and more consistent your stillness, the more her internal floodgates begin to open, releasing waves of emotion she's been holding back. This isn't about rational thought or intellectual debate, it's biology at its rawest. A primal signal sent through thousands of years of evolutionary wiring that screams, "This is the man." This is the place where she can finally feel safe enough to open up, surrender, and release control. This is where her resistance dissolves and her heart and body respond without hesitation. Brother, emotional flooding isn't some calculated game or manipulative skill you use to get what you want. It's a state of being, a vibration you embody so fully, so effortlessly, that it becomes impossible for her to resist. It's being so deeply rooted in your own power and purpose that she instinctively trusts you with her most vulnerable self. You don't force this energy, you don't manipulate or rush it, you don't try to control the outcome, you simply allow it to happen naturally, trusting in the flow and the connection you share. The man who masters emotional flooding does it because it is who he is, intense, steady, and profoundly authentic. And because of this authenticity, she gives you her everything, her body, her voice, her most guarded truths, and her surrender, not because you demand it or coerce it, but because your energy calls it forth without a single word spoken. Your presence becomes a safe harbor where she can finally lower her walls, expose her chaos, and be fully known. When you embody this level of integrity, you will never find yourself chasing again. You won't beg for her attention, nor will you doubt your place in her life. Her actions will make everything clear. She'll linger longer in your presence, touch you with more intent, and open faster than you ever imagined possible. She'll crave your energy like a drug, respect you like a king, and desire the calm and strength you bring into every moment. In a world flooded with men desperate for attention, validation, and approval, you will stand apart as the man who commands true emotional power. That presence is rare. It's unforgettable, and it's not about seduction as you've been taught, it's about transformation. You don't merely seduce her, you change her entire experience of intimacy and connection. You become the catalyst for something deeper, something sacred. That, brother, is the highest level of mastery, the kind that few men ever reach but that every woman secretly yearns for. It's not about tricks, lines, or performances, it's about showing up fully, being the calm in her storm, the anchor in her chaos, and the fire she can't resist. When you become that man, you don't just win her heart, you transform her entire world. So yes, emotional flooding is undeniably the fastest way to get laid, but it's far more than that. It's the quickest way to reveal the raw, unfiltered truth of who you really are beneath all the masks, performances, and social games. When you lean into emotional flooding, there's nowhere to hide. It tears down the facade and exposes your core, your real depth, your strength, your fears, and your power. You either rise to the occasion and show up as your authentic self, or you get exposed for what you really are. There's no middle ground, no shortcuts. But here's the beautiful part. When you do rise, when you meet her with true presence instead of rehearsed lines or desperate attempts to impress, something shifts. You stop chasing, you stop performing, and instead, you become magnetic in your stillness. She will feel this energy deep in her bones, and she will know without a doubt that you are the real deal. That kind of masculine purity, power, and groundedness triggers a response in feminine energy that is impossible to resist. Feminine energy doesn't chase. It flows, it responds, it opens, but only to a masculine force that is stable, authentic, and unwavering. When your masculine energy is pure and anchored, she won't be able to stop herself from surrendering fully, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. She lets go of all her defenses, all her control, and gives herself to the experience completely and breathlessly. It's a surrender born not out of weakness, but out of a deep craving for the safety and power you embody. That surrender, brother, is the real game. It's the ultimate connection that transcends surface level attraction and fleeting encounters. It's the moment where two energies collide and create something electric, something unforgettable. So if you want to master this, remember, emotional flooding isn't just a tool to get laid. It's a mirror reflecting your deepest self back at you. It demands courage, integrity, and presence. But when you step into that power, you don't just win moments, you create lasting impressions, deep connections, and a love that burns brighter than any superficial game ever could. And that, my brother, is the true prize. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. If this message spoke to you or gave you something to think about, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new drop. I've got more real talk, more growth, and more power coming your way. So stay locked in. And if you're going through something right now, just remember, your silence can say more than 1,000 words ever could. Take care of yourself, keep rising, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.